In this video, we're going to learn how to use the JackBord's internal remote control receiver. For more information, go to jb.works and type in the TMT code shown at the bottom of the screen at the search prompt. Everyone's aware of remote controls. We all have them, old TV remote controls like this one. So in this video, we're basically going to use the JackBord and a TV remote so that when you press number 1, the light turns on. And when you press number 2, the light turns off. This basically allows you to use normal infrared remote controls to control projects and things that you make with the JackBord. For this activity, all you need is a charged JackBord and some kind of infrared remote control. Old TV remote controls are really good. One thing to note is that most remote controls will work, but there are some that won't, or that will give strange results. So if you find that one remote you have doesn't work, try a different one. The other thing is that you can often get interference from things like flickering lights, like fluorescent lights, or very, very bright sunlight. So again, if you have any problems, try moving out of the sunlight or turn the fluorescent lights off, that kind of thing. Before we start using the remotes, let's have a quick look at how they work. So if you look at any remote control, you'll see that there is a little LED at the end, and this is an infrared transmitter. So when you push a button on the remote control, it transmits an infrared signal that you can't see. And inside the JackBord, there are infrared receivers that receive these. There's one there, and there's another one on the other side. Now if I get the PCB for block 5, these are the two infrared receivers, one here and one over here. And these receive the infrared signal from the remote control and then decode it, and then Pinky will process it and then do something with it in your program. So basically you have the remote control that sends an infrared signal whenever you push a button, and a different signal for each button. And then the JackBord picks that up, interprets it, and then does what you tell it to do. The best way to learn about how the remote control receiver works is to look at a program. So visit jb.works and type in the TMT code shown on the screen at the search prompt, and you'll be taken to the program code that we'll be running. To get the code, go to jb.works and then paste the TMT code into the search prompt and click on the magnifying glass. And this will take you straight to the code. And then once there, select it all, copy, and then paste it into a free program slot. And then click Save. Right, before we run the program, we'll just have a quick look at it. So essentially, basically, we've just got a count variable there, which we don't really need, but we just put it there anyway. We clear the screen, we print the title. So the purpose of this program is to show us the codes that are sent when the remote control button is pressed. Now there are two system variables which are used. Now the first one is this s_ird_new. Now if someone has pressed a button and there's a new code waiting, this will be set to 1. Once you read the new value, which will appear in the s_ird, which is infrared data variable, the sird new variable gets cleared back to 0. So basically, this variable tells you if someone has pressed a button and if there's some new data. This variable will always have the value of that data. And then essentially all we do is just keep on looping pretty much forever. And whenever someone presses a button on the remote, it will show new, and then the number value of the data that the infrared remote control sent. So now I'm going to run the program, and I've got the remote control, so I'm going to press button number 1, and it gives me the number 65. So if I press it again, it's 65. Now I press number 2, and it gives me 77, and so on. So I press number 3, it gives me 69, and if I push the up arrow on the remote control, it gives me 1, and the down arrow is 9, left is 25, and right is 17. So basically what we're doing is we're finding out what data the remote control will send when a given button is pressed. So I now know that if I press button number 1, it will send 65. If I press button number 2, it's going to send 77. And there it is. This program is showing what data a remote control is sending when the buttons are pressed. This next program is going to see us make a remote controlled light using the JackBord. To get the code, just go to jb.works and put in the TMT code shown on the screen and paste it like we did last time. So this is the second program, and it's an infrared remote controlled light. So first of all, we've got two variables. One is the on code, and we set it to 65, because remember from the previous program for the remote control that I'm using, pressing button number 1 gives a code of 65. And pressing button number 2 gives a code of 77. So we've got an on code of 65 and an off code of 77. Then we move down to the main loop. Same thing, if we get a new button pressed, then we come down to here, we show the value. This section here basically says if the value or the code sent by the remote is equal to the on code, then we turn all of the user LEDs on with the LON command, and then we print lights on. And likewise, if the new code from the remote control is the off code, we run the LOFF command, which turns all of the user LEDs off. And then we print lights off. And we just do this in an endless loop. So now I'm going to run the program. So we'll get the code running. And you can see in the lower right hand side there, I've got the remote control and I've got the JackBord. So now I'm going to press button 1 and the light turns on. And then I'm going to press button 2 and the light turns off. So you have an infrared remote controlled nightlight. For more information, visit jb.works.